Alright, so getting this out the way, chapter 167 of Chainsaw Man, it's definitely going down as a chapter that will likely make a lot of people drop the series and will forever have Chainsaw Man be known as a manga that, on the surface, is a manga where the MC is just a total horn dog and the author enjoys making his cast suffer for the sake of suffering. But if you look at the bigger picture, there are a lot of things that were implied to the point where this could probably be the most important chapter as far as if Denji is going to make it through part 2 to possibly part 3, assuming that there's going to be a part 3 to the series. Taking a step back, getting to the chapter, it picks up with Denji and Yoru, who's in control of Asa's body, standing in an alleyway where Yoru is getting ready to cut off Denji's wiener, who makes a knife out of trash, playing it off like she found it on the ground. And it's also made very clear that Yoru, she doesn't want to reveal herself or any of her powers to Denji, so he could use that knowledge against her later in their fight. But also because if Denji realized Asa's situation or the person he was speaking to, he would view the situation he was about to get into a lot differently. And this makes you look at Yoru completely differently because we always knew earlier on in the story that Yoru was the true definition of a go-getter. Someone who was willing to do anything and everything if it means she gets what she wants. But to see it happen so graphically does show how low Yoru is willing to go to make sure that she can kill Chainsaw Man, which is pretty dark. But in any case, Yoru, she just gets straight to business and tells Denji to drop his pants, and Denji, like any guy, can't believe what is happening. But I do think subconsciously, Denji, he sort of realizes that she could just be a yandere, and he's in a situation where he could just get some play. But after Denji collected his thoughts and isn't as emotional, of course he changed his mind and knocks the knife out of Yoru's hand. But Yoru being Yoru, she ain't taking no for an answer and just goes and grabs straight for Denji's marbles. Where once again, Denji's in a situation where he's getting essayed, worse off by the girl that he thought was different from the rest of the women that Denji's ever met, who all in some way or another wanted to kill him or try to manipulate him to get him to do what they wanted, which is what made Asa so special to Denji. She was the girl that when he kissed him, he didn't get hurt afterwards. And it's sad to see that a lot of this idea of Asa being this perfect girl for Denji is beginning to fall apart, because Yoru just says flat out to Denji that she doesn't care about his feelings, all she cares about is killing Chainsaw Man. And the irony is really here is Denji doesn't know the person he's speaking to. It isn't Mitaka talking to him, it's actually Asa, but sadly this is only going to add on to more of the trauma that he already has. And also for Asa as well, this is where things start to get wild, especially for her, because Yoru starts smirking at Denji, and we get the first implication that Fujimoto didn't take a page from Gege's book in off-screen Yuta, because Yoru starts to remember the kiss the two of them had all the way back earlier on in the story in Denji's apartment, and this was likely caused by the intimacy that Yoru and Asa are experiencing. I mean, after all, they do share the same brain, so they can actually feel the same thing. And the reason why I think that the memories are now starting to finally come back is kind of like how we saw in part 1 when the Angel Devil was being controlled by Makima, and when he thought about his past and remembered all his friends and the lover he accidentally killed under Makima's command, that's when Makima's control over him ended. And as soon as Yoru and Asa remembers, Yoru's entire demeanor begins to change. Because when you think about it, Asa and Yoru always thought that Denji had rejected her, which was a big blow to their confidence. But now that they're realizing, like, wait, this guy really does like me? I think, he might like me. It's to the point where Yoru at first, she doesn't really believe in these feelings and she goes in to kiss Denji to know what it feels like. And then he's just absolutely confused by the entire situation, doesn't know what to think. But despite all that, Denji and Yoru, they're both feeling each other, with the attraction being there despite the circumstances, and with the memories and the feelings that Yoru is having all coming back at once. We see all the pent up sexual energy, the hormones, and the love that Asa has for Denji that she's been holding back. Well, it all finally boils over all at once, and Yoru pretty much goes to town on Denji, where one thing leads to another, where it comes to a climax where Denji finally gets his happy ending that he was looking for. as it switches back over to Asa, who is visibly shocked and traumatized by the entire event. Because you have to remember, this is likely Asa's first sexual encounter that she's ever had in her life, and will forever be remembered for being one where she didn't have a choice in the matter. Which is sad, but it also really does prove the statement that Denji made earlier, that tragic irony of Asa where she thinks that she has a choice, where in reality she's really a puppet for all the people around her. For Yoru, for the Famine Devil, for the Chainsaw Man Church, and even Denji's sexual gratification, who I'm sure when Denji learns Asa's circumstances will likely be disgusted with himself by what happened, but it's safe to say that the way the two of them will act from this point forward will never be the same again, to the point where I would say that any romantic relationship the two could possibly have pretty much went out the window in this chapter, and if it did end up happening, I honestly can't see it ending in any other way besides it being a total disaster. But this chapter really makes me question if this event will change the idea of if Asa will still want to save Denji, because before she said she was willing to do anything to make Denji feel better and to save him, but now that that's happened, it makes me wonder, at least from Asa's perspective, assuming she didn't play a part in what happened, if she'll view Denji as someone who used her and took advantage of her. But the last panel really does make us question how much Asa played into it, or if something more is going on, because in the final panel, as Yoru is leaving Asa's body, her eyes still aren't human. The scars are gone, but her eyes still aren't human. And it makes me think back to what the Flying Devil called Asa previously, a war devil and a human fusion, and this could be playing into the idea that the two of them are now finally fused into one, which has always been happening previously in the prior chapters, but now that Yoru's and Asa's feelings are starting to fully align, the fusion process is beginning to finalize.